What's up, guys? I'm back with another movie review. Today I'm talking about Justice League. If you're familiar with my videos, you know that I love comic books, but I have not been a fan of the Marvel and DC movies for the most part. But I wasn't optimistic, but I was definitely open-minded going into Justice League. The story kind of centers around the fact that Superman is dead. His absence is just kind of unnerving to the world. Without their protector in place, everybody feels more vulnerable, and the idea that a threat could rise and be successful seems a lot more likely now that Superman is not around. The story also involves Steppenwolf, a supervillain who almost, conquered the Earth, but he was pushed back by a combined force of the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the United Tribes of Man, which, as Batman tells us, is not going to happen now because the Amazons are, of course, restricted to Themyscira. The Atlanteans are just, not going to help, apparently. And then, of course, man is, always fighting with itself. There's no chance of, this mass uniting, even in the face of, a grave danger like Steppenwolf. What he needs to do is get a hold of these three mother boxes, one held by the Atlanteans, one by the Amazons, one by man. If he can unite those three boxes, then he can, gain this immense power, and he can essentially turn the Earth into his home world, which is like this fiery, hellish place. So that basically with Superman out of the picture, it doesn't look good that they're going to be able to stop Steppenwolf. Batman realizes something needs to happen, or, the world's going to be in terrible danger, so he needs to put a team together, and he eyes, different talented, unique people around the world, and, he wants to put a team together and take on this menace, and that's the core of Justice League. Justice League is not a terrible movie. It's certainly not the worst comic book movie that I've ever seen. My issue with it is that it feels like a made-for-TV movie, despite being one of the most expensive movies ever made, like almost $300 million in budget. It looks like a made-for-TV movie. The CGI looks worse than the green screen in the room. The costumes of Cyborg and Flash look like something like you would have bought at Walmart or Costco. Everything about this movie is just cheap. And then it doesn't help that after Zack Snyder left, they brought in Joss Whedon to do a whole bunch of reshoots, and you can tell where those reshoots are. You can tell that for most of the movie, Wonder Woman is a supporting character, and then at a certain point, people are like, oh man, the Wonder Woman movie is popular. Let's shoehorn her in there more, and that's what they do. It feels really unnatural, and, it's like Batman is the dude for a long time, and then there's one little talk, about her taking over his leadership, and then she kind of takes the center stage, which is fine. I like Wonder Woman as a character. I don't care for this version of her, but it was a really disjointed movie. The CGI in this is some of the worst I've ever seen in a big budget movie like this. Infamously, Superman, was unable to shave his mustache because of another movie role, and he has this horrible CGI removed mustache that is beyond distracting because he has a bunch of close-ups. It's absolutely ridiculous. All of the CGI in this looks really bad. The Steppenwolf character is atrocious. It looks like something from 1992, whenever everything was still textureless, in CGI pretty much. I mean, it looks really, really bad. It's not just bad green screen like Thor Ragnarok or just cheap CGI like most of the comic book movies. This looks really, really bad. I don't know how 75% of this ever got approved and how it got pushed out, into the theater. It's just a huge disappointment for me. On top of that, the one thing that you think you should be able to count on a comic book movie for are action scenes. And the ones here are really, really weak. Again, they're crippled by constant CGI that doesn't look good. And the CGI is so bad they have to layer on the motion blur and make everything so fast and tight cuts that you just don't have time to see how bad it is. And of course, everything is so buried that you can't appreciate the action scenes. Surprisingly, the performances in this weren't that bad. I liked Ben Affleck as the bloated, broken down Batman. I'm not a big fan of the Instagram model take on Wonder Woman, but I didn't mind Aquaman and Flash being kind of funny comic relief characters. Cyborg, obviously, just a throw in for diversity here, which is a shame because he's an interesting character, and I definitely think they could have done a little bit more with him than kind of force in a few elements of his story, but it is what it is. I found Justice League to be exceedingly disappointing in every possible way, pretty much. Terrible special effects, terrible action scenes, terrible story. There was never any suspense or tension in this movie whatsoever. It was extremely predictable. The stakes felt like they were non-existent, and I just really didn't like this movie. I don't know what to say. Like, I thought I was disappointed with Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is a masterpiece compared to Justice League. This is just a complete mess. I did a full write-up of it at markfusion.com if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts about how terrible Justice League is. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at markfusion. And if you like these videos, please do drop a sub. If you're a big Justice League fan, you're probably not going to give me a sub, but I hope that you'll consider it. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I do seriously appreciate it. And if you would drop a sub, it would greatly help me out. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon.